Good morning, my name is Graham King. I'm a DIY solar and I emphasise DIY. I'd like to thank everybody who has contributed to debates at the moment. What I'm trying to do and achieve is I've come up with this crazy idea. I've implemented that idea. It's been running for 18 months. It's been, as far as I'm concerned, very successful. So now I'm sharing what I've learnt in the hope that the feedback will make sense of what's going on. If that makes sense. Is I want some answers to this. This is the data. I've been recording this data for about 18 months. I started it on the 13th of October 20. So there's lots of information here. And I've now done some charts because I've done 3 different ways of doing it. Well, you'll see. So without any further ado, let's crack on with the video. This was my very first attempt at looking at doing what I have eventually done. Done this on the 7th of January 2020, so that was over 2 years ago. So now this was my setup at the very beginning. We got the negative and positive 5 cables going to the 5 charge controllers. Obviously my negative from number 5 battery and the positive from number 1 battery. Now I've been recording the data, the date and what kilowatt hours I have recorded, and this was over 128 days, and I put it into a chart, and as you can see we have this pattern of discharge. But I know it's discharged now, didn't know what it was at the beginning, but this is how uneven the charge cycle was between the 5 batteries. So then I decided to do this. I changed the earth to the center battery because this is a buzz bar, and the live to the center of the buzz bar to see what would happen. And as you can see, I collected a lot of data, and this is 335 days. I think it's about 11 months. And of course that's the pattern. Number 3 is the one that received the less, but yet they're all charging at the same cycle. It's the discharge that creates this pattern, and so basically we got like a concave pattern. So then what I've done, I'm sorry about the quality, but I changed it completely over again by putting the negative on number 1 and the positive on number 5. Now this has only been going for 38 days, so I want this to run a bit longer. I want to see this pattern emerge, but as you can see we got a different pattern again of kilowatt hours. This is the extra kilowatt hours. So if we look at the beginning, the arrangement, the setup of my battery bank, with positive on number 1, negative on number 5, so it's going right across for discharge. These are obviously balancing the system out ish. I'm making no such claim that it is, and of course this is the data and this is the difference. So as you can see, we got this pattern. You know, it can't be down to differences, and then when you reverse by putting the negative on number 1 and positive on number 5, you get the reverse trend. So if you put the 2 together, you can see that's the pattern one way around, and that's the pattern the other way around. But this is new. I expect number 2 to come up. This is going to replicate this one, I think. Well, that's what I hope so anyway. But the difference is this is extra kilowatt hours over 0. So if what people believe that it's charged and discharged in a balanced way, then how do you explain this? Because I can't explain this. Now why is it doing this? Is raw data, and yet we got this pattern. Now if we look at the first one, if we look at battery 5 at the very beginning, it's 3.28 against the lowest one, which is 31.4, which is a difference of 1.4 kilowatt hours. I've come out in number 5 over number 2. So if you believe it's balanced, then how do you explain that? Because I can't, and I would love to hear what anybody else thinks about this pattern. You would never have known that if you hadn't done that. So I've come to the conclusion. This is my conclusion from the data, the evidence. That was the first time, and it created an imbalance in the batteries of that. This is now this way around, and it's causing an imbalance like that. So I am going to suggest that if I kept that in that order for say 3 months, just for argument's sake 3 months, and then change the cables over to that, over a year, would my batteries be fairly balanced? It's the imbalancing that causes the problems. So what do you think to that idea? This is further evidence of what I'm trying to achieve. I've just replaced this battery pack for my laptop. 3 years. Now people are buying these in bulk, removing the batteries, they're getting rid of the bad ones, and the good ones they're making battery banks out of it. You can buy kits to assemble it all. So it must be quite big business. But that only lasted 3 years. Stick a balancing board in it, and that will last 10 years. So that's my theory. If we can use a balancing board to prolong the life of lithium batteries, then why can't you prolong the life of an AGM battery by using charge controllers to do exactly the same as what this fellow does? That's just another point of view. So you can see where I'm coming from, or what I'm trying to achieve, or better still, trying to understand. Now for any dating Thomases, this guy, this Will, DIY solar power with Will Powers, it's the 8th of February 2022. If you look him up, he charged his Tesla car with lithium ion batteries. 5 big batteries. Strange that it's 5, my system's 5, but never mind. But if you look this guy up, he's very good. There's nothing you could tell him about solar. All the manufacturers send him their items for him to stress test and review and all this, that and the other to make sure it does what it says on the tin. Very knowledgeable. Sometimes speaks too technical, but you get the drift. But if you look him up, what I'm trying to achieve, he actually did. He tested the 5 batteries, and he was surprised of the results, which is exactly what I'm saying. So if you want some proof of what I'm trying to do, watch this guy. He's very good. That's it from me for now. I hope you enjoyed that and get a better understanding on what I'm trying to achieve. Debate is good, especially with something like this. You learn something new all the time. I want to keep this present setup for the next couple of months at least, so I can collect data, so I can compare apples to apples. But the one thing I have learned lately is a thing called the spider. You know, talking to a fellow boater who's into solar, he told me about the spider. Never heard of the spider. Have you heard of the spider? Basically what it is 5 equally length cables, and you connect each one to each battery, and then you join them up, and then from there you take your power lead. Makes a lot of sense to me, because you're equally drawing from each battery a draw to a central point, and then it goes off to where it's got to go to. I will do that. That's my next project, is installing the spider, and see how that goes. So I'm learning all the time. So without further ado, we'll call that a day, and TTFN, and have a nice day.